What just happened there? Well, welcome back to another episode of whatever we're calling this or doing this. I don't know either. So just roll with us for now. This is pretty early on, so this will probably become way better when we have money. But today we're going to get into some training regarding, I don't know, certain exercises doing certain things, and if that really is the case. And the answer, so Roger says, and if anybody's talked to him, you know, is depends, which isn't helpful all the time, but does make sense.
Sometimes it's helpful.
Yes, and today we're brought to you by Roger.
Iron Revival by us. We've got no subscribers.
Yeah.
No sponsorship.
I wore the wrong shirt, so fuck it. Anyways, how are we gonna kick this bad boy off, Roger?
So the specific idea, and this is really, really big in the kettlebell world, if you want X result, do this exercise. And the idea, the question is, does that work? And again, the answer is, it depends. Exercises don't do anything all the time to everybody. An exercise is effective, it will give you a specific result if you do it in the right way, with the right load, the right intensity, the right time, if someone has slept well, if they've eaten well, if their anatomy is compatible, blah, 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 blah. There's not going to be an exercise that gives you a benefit 100% of the time. And that's really what we want to talk about today. Specifically, I guess stuff that we've been talking about, thinking about, is mobility. So two big moves that you hear in the kettlebell world, great moves. Sometimes they help a lot. The arm bar and the windmill. You hear a lot about T-spine mobility. So hey, what do I do to improve my T-spine mobility? Oh, just do an arm bar or do a windmill and you'll be good to go. There are other exercises too, but we're going to focus on those two today. Specific again to the objective of getting T-spine mobility.
Yeah, coming from a guy with not great T-spine mobility, this should be helpful. And if you're watching this, chances are it belongs to you too. Oh my goodness, is this traffic school? No. Roger, what are we doing with these cones and these stickers?
Is my junk in the shot?
No.
Okay, good. All right. So this.
But why are your pants off? Awkward.
All right. So this pink dot here is a movement objective. So when we set about to, let's say, do a windmill, do an arm bar, this whole thing is conceptually meant to. It's meant to represent the T-spine. Okay. So. This is not anatomically accurate for a variety of reasons, but this is really just meant to...
Mainly because they're cones, right?
Well, no.
Okay.
Because the stickers are the wrong color. But the idea is this is meant to represent the movement objective that the T-spine would accomplish in a windmill or an armbar. So here's the objective. This other pink sticker here is the thoracolumbar junction. So that's where the thoracic spine and the lumbar spine meet. These other green dots are meant to represent the thoracic spine. So what we should have, ideally, is a distribution of the workload. So you're moving, let's see, can you see that? So in order to get from this pink sticker here, all the way up to that sticker there, here, let me do it that way. Is this any better?
No, it's so much better.
Okay. So in order to do this and to get from here to here.
Actually, it's not much better.
No, fuck.
All right, let's give this a shot.
All right. So the idea is that in order to get from here, this piece, to that piece, we're spreading out all of the load. That is ideally how you want to train your T-spine mobility. There are a variety of methods, but we need motion that's distributed across all of them, okay? Now, the problem with a lot of things that we see talking about T-spine mobility, one is in order to get from here to here, this whole thing moves. No motion in the individual segments, okay? That's problematic. Ask the goat. Okay? Not a good thing. Now, what will usually happen is you'll get a lot of motion through the area where the thoracic spine and the lumbar spine meet. You're not going to get the same amount of motion, but rather than distributing the load through all of these individual vertebrae, you're just going basically, you're focusing on these two here. You're not getting the same range, and you're putting a lot of stress on that. And this is just, like I said, a very crude representation of what does often happen when people are talking about training T-spine mobility.
All right, Roger, let's see how my cones do.
So what we're gonna do is, Jeremiah's gonna do a windmill, and we're gonna go through a few basic coaching tips, things to watch for, and we're gonna see this whole T-spine thing in action. Okay, so go ahead and get into your windmill position. We're gonna stay light for demonstration purposes.
Does it matter where that dot is?
Well, yeah, but it's not your concern.
Okay.
So let's go ahead.
Can you guys see me on this camera? Okay, good.
So let's go ahead and set up your feet however you need to set up your feet. Let's go ahead and start moving through. Let's go ahead and start moving through your windmill. Okay, so the first thing we're gonna wanna watch is the kettlebell and the hip, okay? If that kettlebell is moving down and his hip is not moving anymore, something's going on, okay? Something else is moving and it's not the hip. The idea is that the thoracic spine should be rotating in order to accommodate the arm position, okay? That should be happening. And the hip should be moving to elevate, basically bring the kettlebell up and down, okay? That's what we're looking at. Now, so one, we want to look at the hip. The second thing we want to, go ahead and turn around for me. Show people what they want to see. Yeah. All right. So, we're going to look at this curve right back in here. If he's going into a bunch of extension, I know that his rib cage is not stacked over his hips. I know that he's getting some motion through here. He's accommodating the movement of the kettlebell through that, and his spine is kind of twisting in a weird, unnatural way rather than getting the rotation that we want. So again, go ahead and go into your windmill. So we're watching this hip. Go ahead and pause here for me, and go ahead and drop your rib cage. There we go. Now, I don't know if you can see that well on the camera, but we have less extension through here. He doesn't have a ton of range. Go ahead and come out of that and put it down. He doesn't have a ton of range, but back to the idea of, hey, a windmill is going to increase your T-spine mobility. If he doesn't have to demonstrate any T-spine mobility at all, he's not going to train it. Now, you can probably pick up that kettlebell and bring your hand all the way to the ground, correct?
Yeah, if I want
So
to.
let's go ahead and show him, it's light, but let's go ahead and show him what most people do. And let's even go from the back.
Okay.
Let's go from the back. So again, you're gonna see at a certain point, go slow, the hip is stopped, yet the kettlebell's still moving. So he's accommodating that motion through the lower part of the spine. You can see some rotation in the arm. There's all kinds of stuff moving.
Instagram.
We're not saying don't do that, but what we're saying is that's not training his T-spine mobility. Okay? Now, the next move we want to go through, very similar mechanics. Let's go through the arm bar. Let's go ahead and set up in that. So, basically what we're looking for in the arm bar, similar stuff, a lot of similar stuff going on.
Which way do you want me to face? So they can see my back, doesn't matter?
It doesn't matter. We're gonna cue a lot of the same stuff. Don't break your watch.
Oh.
Come on, man. We're professionals here.
Look, it's not my fault our budget studio is so small.
All right. So a few things that we're gonna have to watch for. One is this big curve here. There we go. So let's get the knee up a little higher. Let's take the pelvis and tilt that, kind of do a posterior tilt there. There we go. If he has to back off of the knee, or if his pelvis comes untucked, he's moving somewhere else. And again, we're not saying that's bad. We're just saying if we want to work on shoulder stuff, T-spine stuff, then he's going to need to keep all the other stuff connected. If he doesn't keep all the other stuff connected, then basically you have a sticker situation where those little green things aren't moving and the pink thing's moving and the goat starts screaming it's bad news. So what we're watching for here, making sure he's not going through a ton of extension. And he's going to go ahead and breathe into this position, but I'm good with this. This is something that he's gradually going to progress. He's gonna try and get that right hip over. That's what's gonna drive the motion. So right about here, I can see his pelvis is starting to change course. So we want to keep that tuck, and that's where he is right now. That's where his motion is. Now, go ahead and do it like, you're trying to impress people on Instagram. Okay, so this is not T-spine mobility. Okay, it looks like, oh, you got great mobility, but he doesn't. He's got great mobility some places, but the stuff we're trying to actually train, the stuff that we're trying to impact, we're not touching.
All right, Roger, wrap that shit up.
So again, the basic idea is just to tie everything together. Yes, certain exercises can make certain impacts. How you do the exercise, though, is important. Don't just expect, I'm going to do this move and this is going to happen. Most of the time, it does not happen. People end up achieving a movement objective, but they end up doing what most people call compensation. You're moving through other places. So we use the T-spine today, but you can talk about, getting your hips mobile. One thing we'll commonly see is I'm training my hips when you're really training your lower back, etc. Or sometimes people are working they're working their T-spine and they got a lot of cervical rotation, blah, blah, blah. But the point is, if you are looking for a specific result from a specific movement, you have to understand the anatomy of that piece. You have to lock down all the other things that could move, except for the thing that you're trying to move, and then you want to respect where you are, that range of motion. So ideally, if I'm training him, I'm going to do some other stuff to get him more mobile. We're going to do some, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, probably some breathing, other, let's call it corrective or mobility work, whatever you want to call it. And then I'm going to bring him into this pattern to reinforce it. But if you don't want to do that and you want to use the pattern itself to improve motion, just make sure that you're locking down all the other stuff that can move. These are just two examples. Hopefully they're helpful. And if they're not, send us an email with lots of bad words and we'll try to get it right next time.
Yeah, certainly will. And you can send your email right here. I think I got this down now. Okay, maybe. Anyway, send an email. Also, so as you can see through some of this demonstration stuff, it's probably kind of hard to see on your own. So be sure to go ahead and film a couple of different angles, and you can email us to that same email address, and we'll be sure to provide you any feedback we can, or you can reach out to us just for questions through the email or Instagram, wherever. I don't know, you know how to find us. This isn't hard. But we'd love to hear from you, and stay strong.